saying hi before even things got started. I love it. I love it. Well, welcome to Domain to Profit. I am Drew Wash, and if you're watching on Restream, just know this is a live show. So what you're about to see was filmed live in front of a community of people that are in the chat. So join us live. It's definitely the way to do it. 3 p.m. Eastern time. I was live in front of a studio audience. Anyhow. Okay. Well, we are going to just talk about what a domain name is today. We're going to do that as well as do what we do every single week, which is what this show is about, getting together and looking through expiring domain names for those great gems that are just mixed in with the tens of thousands of domain names that are going to expire this week and come up for auction. So we're going to look for the best ones and possibly bid on a couple of them. Maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens. But we are going to talk about what a domain name is because, well, there's a major problem. I've been talking to small businesses, and many of them don't have a domain name. Like, they don't even know why a domain name would matter to their business. And you might be thinking, wow, most small businesses I know have one. No, you actually find out that a lot of small local businesses especially, they don't do it. So we'll talk about that on the other side of the intro. But if you're here, welcome. Make sure you say hi in the chat. Say hi to everybody else. This community, there's many others that are looking to get domain names, looking to develop domain names and use them to bring value to the world and make your dreams come true, all with this little web business thing. So it's what I've done and what I try to talk and teach and help others do here on Domain to Profit. We will look at domains and how to turn them into businesses. So all good stuff. Make sure you say hi to the community so they know you're here. I'm Drew Wash, this is Domain to Profit. Here we go.
From domain to profit, from a .com to a business idea. Take a domain name, develop an income from domain to profit. We'll show you how. Domain to profit, from domain to profit. Join Drew Wash and get started right now.
Alrighty, it is Drew Wash, but also many of you, let me see, you got Bill out here saying, letting us know that he's present, which I give him the first place award for the first comment prior to even starting. I think that's awesome. As long as you can get it up on your, sure. And David, nice to see you as well, and hello to the community, yes. And Jeffrey, nice to have you. Woohoo. I love the woohoos. Like, I need the woohoos to get excited and get things moving. I get in here and I'm just, right now is like the busy time of year for me, my company, everybody's like, we're pretty stressed out. We're pretty stressed out. If ever there was a time that I would be open to not doing Domain to Profit, it would be like this period of time right now. And it's because we're doing a trade show. We have a trade show, and we use the trade show as a way to, we try to get all of our major features done before the trade shows. So we use them as our deadlines. And this year, I showed you at the end of last week's stream, we're launching a feature that gives all of our members on our domain names we've developed, like towing.com, it's going to give them a website. And that website, we are setting it up to where they have to bring their own domain name. They have to bring their own domain name. So these small businesses, they have to have a domain name, get a domain name, and then point that domain name to the website. And it has been an eye-opening experience realizing how many small businesses do not have a domain name, and then also don't even really know or care what a domain name is. And it is, it's been shocking to me. I've been on the phone quite a bit with towing companies, and they don't understand the value of a domain name. So I figured, it's not just them. It may be you. You may not quite know what the purpose of a domain name is. So let's take a couple seconds to talk about it. So a domain name is a unique address that points to what you want it to point to. What do you want it to show? What do you want to happen when somebody types in a domain name, your unique address on the web? That's what a domain name is. So that is, yet many small businesses do not have a domain name. They don't have something that somebody can type in and get information about their company. And well, whether that's good or bad, I'll leave it up to each small business. But really, one of the things I think of is, well, let me say it. What is your phone number? What's your phone number? That unique number that when somebody dials, they call you. And, have you kept your phone number even though you've changed cell phone providers? Yeah, probably. So essentially that cell phone number, even though it's coming to you still, it's changed who owns it or who routes it to you and so on. And then, I've managed to keep my cell phone number, I guess it's probably been 15 years or so that I've had the same phone number. So I've had to move it around and everything. But I keep my phone number because people expect, I want to make sure they can get a hold of me using that number, right? Well, a domain name is the exact same thing, but on the web. They get information for you. It's passive, it is a passive way for them to type something in and get information about you. So a lot of small businesses nowadays go a couple different paths. Many of them will say, and I've even heard this on radio ads, I've heard, Google us. Just Google our company. And who's in control when a company says just Google us? Google's in control. The content, the results are in control. That's a dangerous thing to do. If somebody wants to copy your company name or whatever else, write an editorial about your company, and that shows up right next to your company. Don't say Google us. Give them your domain name. Or a lot of people also will say, I've heard this on radio ads too, find us on Facebook. And they'll give facebook.com, Facebook's domain name, and then some, path or whatever to their company. And those two paths, that Google path and that Facebook path, the small businesses don't control them, and it's up to each of us to kind of realize how important a domain name is. And also, let me just say this: a domain name, it's a unique identifier. You type into an address bar and get information about somebody. The information that is provided, what shows up when you type it in, could be anything you want. You can set it up to redirect and forward to Google results about your company if that's really what you want, right? If all you want is people just to Google you, give them a domain name and it Googles for you. Or if you want to give a Facebook page, give them your domain name, and then that you can just have that forward to your Facebook page. But the key thing is give them your domain name. I believe that domain names are an absolute vital piece of internet marketing. It's a vital piece of business, period. It's as important as a phone number to nearly every business out there. And more so, it's more important than a phone number. Yet most people don't think they need it because, we just use our Facebook or we use Google or whatnot. And you can use those things, just forward your domain name to it. And here's why. Just like you hold on to your phone number for 10 some years because you don't want others to lose track of you. You want them to always be able to get a hold of you. The same thing happens with a domain name. That domain name is something you own, much like a phone number, and you want that domain name to always be something they can type in to find out about you. Whether you send that domain name to a Google search, send it to a Facebook page, or if you send it to your amazing website, it's up to you what your domain name does. So now you can put it on your business cards, you can use it in all your marketing, And no matter what, when they type that in, it's going to where you want it to go. That right there, that opportunity to build a domain name into something that truly matters, into something that can last for a long time to where they can always find out about you, always get a hold of you. That is why a domain name matters. Matters so much that I've spent well over $1 million acquiring domain names and building businesses on them. And it's why I do this show each and every week, helping you find great domain names, because domain names matter. You can build something on it, and people will always be able to get to it as long as you own that domain name. Even if you decide to do a different business on the same domain name or point it to a different destination, like you still own the domain. If only we can help small businesses understand how important that is, but hopefully you understand how important that is. Like you've been with me, whether it's this week or many weeks, you know how important a domain name is. So what we do here on Domain to Profit is look through some of the most fantastic domain names there are. These are domain names that, yes, there may be 100,000 of them, but some domains are better than others. Some domains are just better than others. How can you, what makes a domain name better than other? Well, there are certain characteristics of a domain name that are important. So just a couple tips for what kind of domain name to get. Get a domain name that is easy to say, easy to hear and understand. Just logistically speaking, that domain name needs to be something that can be passed between people. So the domain names that we look at here on Domain to Profit, that's one of the characteristics that we try to make sure is that it's something that just makes sense. A lot in domain world, we call them generic keyword domain names, because it's just a nice basic domain name that matches what is on the domain name or expected to be on the domain name. So the other piece would be rememberable. You're rememberable. And you keep it easy to remember, okay? Like you want to keep it easy to remember because just like the phone number, we want that domain name to be something that they can always get a hold of you with. It's always right on top of their brain to where when they think of you, they think of the domain name to where they can now remember the domain name, go to it, and find out what you're up to currently. Make sense? And then the last thing is make sure it's easy to type. You know, it goes along with making sure it's easy to pass around, but make sure it's easy to type. Avoid puns. Avoid straggling S's in the middle of your domain names when the preferred method of just a singular domain is not available. Don't add just a character in the middle. Make sure it's easy to type, and avoid words that have multiple spellings, like to. Don't use the word to in your domain name. If you do, is it going to be the number 2, T-O, T-O-O, T-W-O, or the number 2, the digit? All of that's confusing, and you want to avoid it when you get a domain name, which you'll see as we go through domains. We will talk, and you will see the domains I skip over a lot of times are the domains that violate, the domain names that violate? Why does that sound like a weird word? The domains that violate these ideas, these basic tips, are the ones that we skip over all the time. So can they have value? Sure. Can they make sense? Might it be a good domain name to own? Maybe. But if you have a choice of that domain or others, I always say go with others. So, well, here's where we're going to hang out is over on expireddomains.net. Expireddomains.net. That's their domain. You type it in, it brings up expireddomains.net. Now the technical way of how that works, I actually did bring up a graphic here. If you don't mind, let me just go to this real quick. I literally Googled how does a domain work, right? And this is pretty much it right here. You type in a domain name, it's going out to the DNS servers, the name servers, finding where to send that person, whether it's to an IP address where the website is, or whether it is to a web host or forward to a different website. All of that is controlled by the registrar, which the registrar is where you buy a domain name. That's when we go to these, they're registrar auctions. So I hope all of that is some helpful information, especially to some of you that are not seasoned domain name veterans. You should have the same opportunities and understand why they matter as much as anybody else. And also, you know, I hope that if you're out there talking to a small business, you help them understand, like, domain names matter to your business. Hopefully you can find a cheap one. That's great if you can, but just forward it to your Facebook page or whatever else. 10 bucks, 15 bucks a year. Save yourself, let all your efforts accumulate branding and accumulate value underneath that domain name. So, okay, my domain rant is over. Let's look at some domain names, folks. So we are over on expireddomains.net. I have went and opened up my saved search. My saved search, basically my filter, no numbers, no hyphens, English, 1 to 3 words. We're only looking over the next 7 days of auctions, which you can see that. If I can get it to show up. Sorry, actually, we did upgrade it. It is 8 days, so that includes the 7th day instead of excluding it. And over here on the additional column, we only look at .coms here. So yes, there are many other domain extensions. And if you're one of those small businesses I was talking about prior to this, you know, realistically, if it just represents your company, my exclusivity, my preference of .com may not apply to you. But if you're investing in domain names and looking for the best possible domain names, well, in that case, .com is really the only possibility because we are looking for domain names that aren't just functional. We're not just looking for a unique domain name that directs to what we want it to direct to. We're also looking for domain names that have authority and validate the business that's going to be on it. So there's more to what we talk about here than just generally what a domain name is. Okay. And let me see here. Joshua, thank you for clearly explaining generic names are good too. Yeah, generics are my better. I said I spent well over $1 million on domains. Nearly all of them are generic domain names. I am huge on domains for the same those tips that I said to have to buy domains. You know, keep them easy to spread around. It's marketing. You need them to be to get them tip of the tongue when people pass them around. Generic is a way to do that. If you have it too brandable, now they have to remember you versus what they actually need or that generic keyword. So I'm a huge fan of generic keyword. My money is where my mouth is. My money is where my mouth is. Okay. Words are interesting today. So once we set up our filters, we come in here, the valuation, we by this. Again, as I say every week, the valuation does not matter. The valuation is just what we order by. It's not the actual value of the domain name. Think of it as a score to bring the highest score to the top of the list. That is provided by GoDaddy, and that is why we do that. So, okay. So we are ordered by valuation, and, well, let's see what we have. Let's see what we have. So things like WADI or whatever the heck that is, that, you know, those violation, that violates, easy to spell, easy to say. How do you spell it? Is it an I? Is it a Y? Who knows? Screened, I don't mind. There's only really probably one way to spell that. Just don't know what you do with it. Compare insurance. Let me see when that one ends. That one is likely, I don't believe that's going to end. Just if you remember last week, I talked about buyequipment.com, which I would have loved to have gotten. It was renewed. It was a 2cows domain. Compare Insurance is another one that we saw a year ago, but they get renewed. So just keep in mind, sometimes, a lot of times, these domain names get renewed. Person that's losing the domain name until you have complete ownership in the domain name. Otherwise, yeah. Okay. I love Buenos Dias. I have no clue what I would do with that, you know, but it would be a good day to own it. Anyhow, Buenos Dias, just a fun domain name. Crypto brain. So we're just pretty much going to go right down the list, one page at a time, and we will look for our perfect domain name, related or not to perfectcar.com, which. So a lot of times what we look for are generic domain names. Like, for example, buywines.com, which actually is probably just about to end. I think this one ends today. And this is, so again, remember, this is that 2cows domains. We see this a lot with these enum domains as well. This is what happens. Instead of that domain name actually being available for you to purchase at auction, the domain name gets renewed and you get this right here, which is, oh, we're sorry, the domain name has been, it's no longer at auction. So I a lot of times don't even click on enum domains. Same thing here. By the end of that time, by the time the domain name, the auction ends, they're typically renewed. So that is why I skip. There you go. That's hopefully you kind of see nowadays. Same with Compare Insurance. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do about it. Hopefully GoDaddy will maybe give us a way to weed them out in the future. Or maybe, actually, I won't mess with it. I did find last week at the end of the stream I was playing with the filters and was able to filter out to get it to GoDaddy only. The only thing is I don't want to just go, I just want to exclude enum, exclude 2cows, but we'll just keep going. If you're on your own, there's option. Nature Bridge. Just south of me is Natural Bridge. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Crazy. In my weekend, I got to go to my grandfather's 90th birthday. He is a beast. One of the hardest working guys I've ever known. Definitely taught hard work, and he's in good health. And I swear, just like he still will work in his garage and all kinds of stuff. It's awesome. You want to live longer and be healthy? I think it has something to do with working, having purpose, which is a lot of times what we talk about here as well. Nothing but love. I talked about that one last week. Just fun. That one would be what I'd call a marketing domain name. Anytime it's a domain name that people say, like we say the words together and all we're doing is tossing .com on the end. Nothing but love.com. So see how that's memorable, and also it's easy to pass around. That's exactly what we are out to do with our domain names. Hire ASAP. We've talked about here on Domain to Profit about job boards and things like one of the business models that we talk about is building a job board. So they pay to post a job, and then people under a certain area or a certain niche for example, mechanicjobs.com. That was one to talk about, as well as many others. You basically build a job board, post a job, and then it shows up. Hire ASAP. Hire ASAP. I don't know. It sounds hire ASAP. People would be able to spell it, be able to pass it around. Has something to do with jobs, just based on the sound of it. But it doesn't tell me really what I would want to put on it. But what's it going for? Ends tomorrow. It's up over $500. And people, the word is out. Like, building a jobs board is a thing. That's why this is already $510. People look for job domain names pretty frequently. So this is a good example of what I was talking about. Avoid words with multiple spellings. So SEO advisor, a lot of times people will say SEO advisor with an OR. So now you always have to deal with, how's it spelled, which version, and you're going to have to specify it every time you say it, which is why a domain name that could be great is actually not a domain name that you probably want to spend much money on. If If you get it for cheap, maybe it's worth it. Cost of dealing with having to say every time you give your domain name, oh yeah, it's with an ER, advisor with an ER. But you're always going to wish you had the other one too, because people are going to type it wrong. Buddy Chaz, who is on here, Coaster Gabi at the time, he posted a photo from 2007 where I was wearing an autotowing.com shirt. And so speaking of SEO Advisor, wishing they owned the SEO Advisor.com, I remember back when I had that shirt, autotowing.com, that was pre-towing.com. So I know that as the guy that was building a business on autotowing.com, it's like, I have to get towing.com. So I know that feeling, like, don't start where you aren't where you want to go, if that makes sense. Like, don't put yourself at the mercy of the person that already has what you need. For example, I had auto towing. I knew I was going to need towing. Luckily, I got it. But if you got SEO Advisor and spent like $5,000 or something on it, and then you're always going to have to spend big money to get another version of it. I'd say avoid that if at all possible. Compare software. I do not pay that actually either. Compare laptops. All these 2K one buy and compare. You can type portfolios renewing. Crowd deals. I kind of like that. So I had this idea actually. Who knows? Maybe somebody does this already. But the idea for crowd deals that I would do, I'll give you my business model. This is the thing, okay? The idea was you set benchmarks. So I think Groupon, I don't think they've done this. But the idea is if you get to a certain number of people, then the deal is in effect. So it's kind of like a discount version of like a Kickstarter where if we get enough backing, something happens. Well, crowd deals, for example, crowddeals.com could be a website where if 10 people go for this deal, we'll give $10 off or something like that. So essentially, everybody, the way it markets is they would use word of mouth and go like, hey, we're trying to get this deal. Go sign up for this deal from crowddeals.com. And it spreads by word of mouth. And then their friends come on, get the same deal. And who knows, maybe you prepay. Maybe it's a gift card website where get a $50 gift card for $30, assuming 10 people go for this deal. And then you have to go and find those 10 people, and in turn, you all get the deal. Crowd deals. That is why I added it to my watch list. I've wanted to do something like that in travel for a long time. It's outside of my primary stuff. So it doesn't happen. But maybe it's for you. Get it, go with it, build it, make it happen. I'm glad the coffee's kicking in. Premium lawyers? That sounds horrible. That sounds like anyhow. Premium lawyers. I need a lawyer to charge me even more because they're premium. Let's see here. Art gardens, bike models. Give us some good domains because we want to talk about them. I've been so busy, like trying to put an entire marketing campaign for our for this new website feature. I welcome other people telling me what they think. Like, how do you tell people, like, hey, members now get a website. Bring your own domain name. You get a website. Like, what's a website? Why do I need a domain? It's like, oh, I didn't think I'd ever have to convince you of that. Best garage doors. That thing, let's check it out. Let's go check it out. Okay, $12. I'm going to pull up SpyFu, get logged in into SpyFu. Oh, I'm already logged in. Look at that. Okay, so what we're going to do here is do a little domain name research. As I said, I like those generic domain names like bestgaragedoors.com. And when you find that generic domain name, how do you know what to pay? How do you know if it's a good industry to develop in or build in? Well, we need a tool. We can go with our gut, but our gut often lies. Gut, which experience makes mistakes. So what I do is I go to SpyFu and I make sure I type in or paste in the domain name with .com. So I broke it apart. Now it's instead of bestgaragedoors.com, it's bestgaragedoors. Right up into the search box. Boom. And then we hit search. And then we pull up and find out, okay, 840 people are searching for Best Garage Doors. And you know what I love to do is I hit Control F. I'm not sure what just happened there. I hit Control F plus something else. Ah, I just learned a new trick. I love that new trick. If you highlight it and then hit Control F, it automatically puts it into the Control F piece. Okay, well there you go, shortcut. So what that does when you do a Control F is it highlights everywhere that those keywords appear. So remember, those keywords matter because they're part of our domain name, Best Garage Doors. So we want to see that exact phrase show up other places. In this case, we're seeing Best Garage Doors 2018. Not sure why people are searching for years ago, but it's probably just garbage traffic. But for the most part, 840 is what we do see here. Everywhere else, if we get rid of the S, so Best Garage Door, we'll see most of the keywords deal with the singular version of it. So once we tossed in or got rid of the S, now we have Best Garage Door Service near me, Best Garage Door Opener, Best Garage Door Companies near me, and so on, which I love near me. You know, if you know this much about me, just know near me is exactly what I like to see in domain names, well, in this middle section when I'm highlighting. So when I do that Control F, I like seeing near me. The only thing is, our domain name is with an S. So it's good to see that there's so many uses of the singular, but don't get too carried away because yours has an S in it. Accept the penalty, accept the fact that most people are using the singular. You can target those keywords, all those keywords that highlighted with the singular, but just know like you're going to be at a disadvantage, which it's okay. It's just, you know, you can't have it all. So the other piece that I like to look at is this here, which is how much is the cost per click? We got 840 people that are searching each month. How much are they paying if they click on an ad? They're currently paying $1.84 or $1.81, which I like. I like to see it $2 or above. $1.81 is pretty good. The only thing is I like this right here, the advertiser's number. I want to see that at 10 or more. 4 at least is better than nothing. It means there's some competition there. But we want people competing for our keyword. We want there to be blood in the water, people paying a ton of money because they want to reach the audience. We see a little bit of that, but not a ton. So because of that, if I was to be in the situation where I wanted to develop out a garage door website, which I don't really care to, I would look at this one, look at the competition, look at the cost per click, and because there's competition, so I like to see it at 10 or more. We're seeing it at half of that. So I would take the cost per click, $1.81, I would half it, so 90 cents, times that by the monthly volume or the estimated clicks up here, and you'll find that you're probably going to want to pay less than $800 or probably more along the lines of $500 for the domain name at most. At most, as a domain developer, that's kind of one of those ways you can eyeball it. Because realistically, a 3-word domain name like that, you're not setting any records as far as investor value. investor as far as being able to sell it to other people when you're done with it. So, or if you're done with it. Makes sense? There we go. Okay, continuing on. And speaking of that, let me just pull this up real quick. I pull this up occasionally. So this is the gray box over there is our domain name. So when I say, so just like you would a house, you can buy it and then sell it for more, maybe you could. Well, the same thing happens with domain names, and you can buy it for low and hope to sell it for more, or you can develop on any domain name. We look for the ones with the authority, the validation, the access to an industry, so we can tap it, pull money out. But when it comes to really great domain names, like for example, towing.com, towing.com would be a domain name it's going to be valuable even if I decide to get rid of it. Like it has value regardless of if it's developed, similar to a house, right? So just because you pay $500 to $800 for Best Garage Doors, because it's a longer domain name, you can't count on that money being liquid like you could if it was a better domain name. That's what I was trying to get to. Hopefully that might make sense. It's not an investable domain name is what I'm saying. It may be any domain name. You can find somebody out there that may be worth paying for it. But I guarantee I could find buyers for towing.com faster than I could bestgaragedoors.com. You get what I'm saying? Sure you do. I believe in you. Sex spray. That sounds like something that should be in a novelty shop. 100%. Your business loan. Again, so when it comes to this, I'll just use this as an opportunity. When there's a domain name that you're going to add that third word. So I typically only look for two-word or one-word domains. If I add a third word, I like it to be a action word or a best, like best or click or call or buy. I want it to be an action word. The other exception would be my. So MY, my business loans. Your and you are typically not the best versions or best extra words to add. It's a marketing thing, but your loans, if you type that in, it doesn't sound like it's for you. So domain names are a weird piece of marketing to where it's like you're taking ownership, you're taking possession of it as you're typing it. And if you're typing you, it feels like it's sending it away. So I want it to be mybusinessloans.com instead of your. So just keep that in mind. Your marketing copy, the stuff you're going to put as your headline on your website and all that kind of stuff, that will be like your business loan made easy on mybusinessloans.com. So your marketing copy, yes, it makes sense. So it's a weird thing that happens with domain names to where when you type them, you're taking possession over them in an odd way, in a unique way, and my is a better word than you or your. And that's my opinion versus some kind of factual thing that I could, yeah. The shippers, again, shippers.com would be way better. The shippers, I'm not a big fan of the word the. However, that's not a bad domain name. It's two words, so it's a great word mixed with a secondary. I don't know. I'm not going to go diving into it, but I don't hate that domain name as much as I usually do when people toss on the word the. And Domain Explorer, you mentioned audio issue. Somebody else refreshed their stream and it was fine. I think we have it fixed today. Maybe I'm mistaken. I hope not, because I have a lot of videos to film today, not just the live stream with you guys. Okay. Key annuities, keepsake photography. A long name. That's one of those things where when it comes down to a tip of what kind of domain name to get, short, go with that memorable. Like shorter the better, assuming it meets all the other things, all the other rules of domains as well. Worldwide school. Change toolbox. Okay, on to the next page. We're just going to move on to the next page of GoDaddy, unless somebody wants me to go off to something else. Well, let's go. We'll quickly open a new window, go check out DropCatch. I like checking out other. I've been a little like GoDaddy's been frustrating me. Not their auctions or aftermarket stuff. But remember how I said, like, small businesses, I'm trying to send them to go get domain names. And if you send them to GoDaddy, my goodness gracious, it turns into, like, it's not as simple as just getting a domain name. It turns into a giant mess because now they have to say no to 100 things they don't understand. It drives me nuts. GamerSport let me zoom that in a little bit. GamerSport.com, I don't mind that one. So because we're looking at DropCatch, this is, I just did that and didn't even show what I did. So up here in the top place, we have marketplace domains there, and then GoDaddy is where we were originally, GoDaddy expired domains, but then I went to DropCatch here, and then I ordered by the price, which typically brings the dropped domains to the top. We only look at the dropped domains. We will not look at the private seller ones, mostly because it's not free advertising, folks. But GamerSport's not bad. Sales Ventures, Let's click on GamerSport. Let's go check that one out and see how it's going. So one of the things about DropCatch is a lot of times the domain names end up going for more than what domains go for on other platforms, because the only people that know about DropCatch are domain people. So we value domains a lot, and therefore the domain name prices go pretty crazy. GamerSport, not really seeing much happening here. My thought was maybe if people are looking for somebody to help them through games or something. I don't know how that would work, but that's not what's on the site. So there we go. We looked through DropCatch, check the box, moving on. Now we're on the page 2, so we're back over to the GoDaddy expired domains, and now we're on to the next 200 of the 200 domains ordered by valuation right over here. Again, valuation's not the actual price of the domain name. It is just a code that helps us bring to the best ones to the top. So we're looking at the next 200 best domain names. Now, I will say the valuation is if you were to decide, like a lot of times when I'm really looking for domain names, we'll go all the way down to like 1,500 of the value, which right now you'll see we're 1,000 above that. We're at 2,600 is the valuation that they put it at. Once you go below like a score of 1,500, I say a score, not a value. Once you go below a score of 1,500, you'll find that the lower that score, the more that domain name is not going to meet our criteria for buying a domain name for development. Persona branding. Be real fast. Hi, aloha. Man, I can't imagine if this was a, a lot of times several times people have asked me to do a podcast or put this out on audio. And if I did that and I just was saying random things like Fate Products, Explore Adventures, they'd be like, what are you talking about? And what I'm doing is reading domain names. Explore Adventures, Explore Adventures, Explore Adventures. That's a close. And what we've learned, one of those rules for buying for the sake of development is close is bad. Almost is no good at all. It's a trick. Our minds play tricks when we're looking at these lists of domain names, and we get caught up in thinking it's going to be a better domain name than what it is. If it's not exact, if it doesn't make perfect sense, then it makes no sense at all. Skip that domain name. We do anything. So that one could be a marketing domain name. We do anything. Although if you do anything, then do you do anything at all? If you do anything, then you probably don't get anything done. My goodness. You know, I need to probably disable my phone when I'm on live stream. Because that's what that is. People keep calling. Okay. Like I said, I've been busy. Been real busy. Launching major business stuff. Hopefully you're super busy too. Hopefully you're, do this. You're like me. This is like the 1 hour that I spend looking through domain names. And when I'm busy like I am right now, this is it. I look through domain names with you. And outside of that, I participate in the auctions if I'm in any auctions. I don't let these domain name auctions take up too much of my life right now. So, in fact, if it wasn't for me wanting to hang out with you, I wouldn't be still doing the show right now because, yeah. Stop calling me. Uh-oh, I think I just hit accept. That'll be an interesting call. Yeah, I was listening to you and, okay. Where was I? Stop call, like, close, can I close Zoom? Anyhow. Oh my goodness. That's fun. I can just see everybody all like calling me right now just to get it to show up on the screen. I just saw something I wanted to talk about. It was a good domain. Ad financing. Ad financing. So that one's kind of that marketing domain name. So a marketing domain name is a domain name that you've heard. People use it in marketing. People say it. And the question is the phrase ad financing marketing enough? I don't know the answer to that. Currently $12, no bids, no visits. I don't love the domain name, and but there's a chance that there's people like, I know when you own a car or you're buying a car, you would add financing. So adfinancing.com would be tied to something like that. Not really seeing less than 20 searches a month, no advertisers, no nothing. Okay, we're moving on. Just wanted to give it a chance. The Whiskey Bar. Whiskeybar.com would be a fun one. The Whiskey Bar. I think you know what I think of that. Although The Whiskey Bar might not, especially if you're doing it for your one bar, if it's your bar, then it's kind of like, hey, we're thewhiskeybar.com. There we go. Going into flight mode, maybe that will help you out, Domain Explorer. I don't think that is what is happening. But if by chance I have it off, so let me know. Maybe it is that. If the audio just corrected when I went to flight mode, then we know that that's what it was. I believe it has something to do with the software I use for audio. So I use Voicemeter to route the audio through the computer. And I have a feeling there's a setting in there that is, I've not been able to figure it out, but sometimes there's that setting that makes things pop. It seems that the audio issues have always been tied to what I'm doing on screen when I've watched back. And so I've made a lot of changes to make it to where that doesn't help. That doesn't, my goodness. So we'll see. But maybe it is. Maybe it is. Okay, let's see here. 10 minutes left. Let's knock out a little bit more, and then we will call it a day. So next week I will be back here in our main home studio. The week after, I will be in Baltimore, and that will be after the next week's trade show. So if anybody's in Baltimore, that let me see, maybe Friday, Saturday, like might be able to go grab a drink or something that weekend. Me and my team are going to be out there for a towing trade show. Yeah, it's actually really cool. I can get you tickets if you want to get in while you're at it. There's $1 million tow trucks, and you may think like towing's not a thing. Like towing's a big deal, and you notice it when you're in at that trade show. So very cool. Compare tools. For some reason, I kind of like this. I feel like we've seen this one and before, but I think maybe what it is I just like, so remember how I like the third word? Compare is a pretty good word. I like compare. So let's try, yeah, is that gonna work? Okay, we'll do the search for this real quick. And I'm gonna try the highlighting and then Control F. Yeah, that worked again. I feel like I learned something new every day. Okay, well, I do learn something new every day. Hopefully you do too. So comparetools.com, 135 searches. So I did the Control F. You'll see there's nothing highlighted. That means that we are not looking, that really there's not a whole lot happening with it. Compare tool, singular, again, is the winner. Singular is the winner with this. So what would you do with this domain name if you're building out a business? I would do something along the lines of, compare tools, right? You're like what tools are out there. You could do the physical hardware tools. I love when websites give me the select a couple products and then compare. So I love those websites that do that for you as well, like allow you to do product comparisons, service comparisons. So comparetools.com is exactly that. Like on your Amazon affiliate site, I know some of you out there are into Amazon affiliate sites. Do a comparison. Compare tools and show them with a buy now button to go to Amazon to buy each product. So there you go. I think that would be a pretty good business for that domain name, comparetools.com. So continuing to pass over some of these buy domains that are not actually probably going to end. Yeah, Only an Acres mentioning it. They like GamerSport. Matt, who watches the show, he may be interested in it. I don't know though. That kind of sounds like corporate. It's like corporate lingo. I don't know if gamers are like, oh, I need support. Maybe. Find installers. Not a bad one. Find is a word that I don't mind as the third word in a domain name, like find qualified insurance. Find best brokers or something like that. Okay, find installers. Let's go check it out keyword wise over on SpyFu. Okay, nothing much happening. Okay, so less than 20 searches. Control F is showing like nearly nothing. Let's check out singular to see if anything happens. Nope, nothing happening. Oh, here we go. Let me try that again. So singular's not really doing anything either. No advertisers, no money. I do like the idea of find installers though, like find appliance installers, find car speaker installers, things like that, maybe not. Nice thing is when you see that if you think that this domain name could be something, which I think it could be, Right now, nobody's bidding on it. The data is not going to really prompt others to go after this domain name. So this would be one that you might be able to get for pretty cheap and do something with it. You can build the business model that we talk about a lot of times here, where you help people find local services that do installing. So cabinet installers, countertop sink installers, toilet installers. Make it your own thing on findinstallers.com. The domain name, it's memorable, it can be passed on to between people. So it's a pretty good domain name. And if you can get it for pretty cheap, again, because there's nobody bidding, you're going to want to wait till the last minute to bid. You don't want to draw attention to it. I don't think that investors are going to be diving after it, but you don't want to draw attention to the fact that you want it, because some investors just want to bid you up or make you pay more. People Safety Review Pack. Okay, let's give it like one more page down. Church launch. Pretty sure church plant is what they say, but church launch might be a reasonable one. Fund my payment. Sounds like pay my bills. Let me get somebody else to fund my bills, fund my payment. I'll just shut up right there, actually. Alrighty, there we go. I'll call that good. Well, hopefully, Domain Explorer, let me know if that audio, if that is really what it is, I thought I've put it in flight mode before, because somebody else had mentioned the audio issues could have been that. So I did not mention the idea of subscribing and liking. I hope you did. I appreciate that you do. I think our community does a great job of just supporting what I do, which I appreciate so much, because I pretty much I need a sign that says I work for likes and subscribes, because that's kind of what I do. But realistically, I just like hanging out with you. I'm looking through domain names anyways, might as well do it with you. So I appreciate you hanging out with me while we do this. We found some pretty good ones. Let me, okay ones. Let me share out these real quick. We just talked about findinstallers.com. This one might be your opportunity to get a cheap one. Bid last minute on that. Comparetools.com, again, it might end up being a pretty cheap domain name. You can build out that affiliate site or something. Comparing tools, literal tools, kitchen tools, whatever, and have that link to buy it on Amazon with your affiliate link to get a commission. I like those kinds of sites. Ad financing, wasn't a big deal. No data on it. I don't really know how you'd use it, but I just was thinking, you add financing. Maybe you can add financing. Got nothing. GamerSport, we saw this over on DropCatch. That's the one I see the chat is talking about a little bit. Not a huge fan of the term, but we looked at it, so I figured I'd show it to you. BestGarageDoors.com. The traffic looked pretty reasonable for this domain name, and especially the singular version of this domain name, BestGarageDoors.com. So keyword-wise, you may end up being able to target the singular, and in that case, if you can get it for cheap, that is the way to go. So crowddeals.com, that's the one that I added to my watch list. I don't know what I would do with it because realistically, my idea for development that I talked about is going to be something I'm never going to get around to. It's well outside of what I care to do, but I do like the idea of those threshold type purchases and so on. Hire ASAP. If you're out to build a job board, that might be one for you. A nice 8-character domain name that is, boom, maybe buy this one ASAP. HireASAP.com. I don't know. Not a huge fan of it for a job board, but I'd probably prefer something like Job ASAP or something like that. Hire ASAP. Maybe it could be a service, helps you find people or something. Maybe something. Somebody out there has a plan. It's already up over $500. So there you go. We went with and looked at some domain names, which is what we do. We also thank you for allowing me to talk to you about what a domain name is, that unique identifier that allows people to type something in and get information about you. You should have a domain name. Don't get addicted to domain names like I am, and like many of you in the chat, but you should definitely have a domain name for your business, even if all it does is redirect to a Facebook page or something else. You can always change where it points later. You own it, you control it, so you should do that. Okay. Well, I think, oh, look at that. We have some spammers. I think that means we've made it. I see the chat is being spammed, which is like, I think we've made it as a community when we start to get our spammers. So, well, I am Drew Wash. This is Domain to Profit. I will be back here at 3 p.m. Eastern Time to talk more domains and to look through next week's list of expiring domain names. Thank you for hanging out with me. Like, subscribe, and be back here. I'll see you next week. See you then.